Hey guys, welcome to the Kandis Show. On today's episode, it was such an honor to sit down with my friend and colleague, Michelle Ogborne of Ogborne Law here in the Valley. We talked about the collaborative divorce process, and why this is so impactful for me to share it with you guys is because I grew up in a divorced household and I'm just recently divorced as well. So I've been through the process and I wanted to share with you guys that there's an alternative process to divorce and how it can really look. And then be sure and tune into the whole thing because at the end we talk about a whiskey club we're starting. So you may want to be a part of that. So hope you enjoy this episode with Michelle. Michelle, thanks so much for joining me today on my podcast. It's definitely an honor to have you, and I was very excited I'm very excited to share with my audience who you are and why you do what you do.
Well, I'm so glad to be here, Kandis. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you're a divorce attorney, and I guess how I see you, you're a collaborative divorce attorney. So I think let's start by sharing like that concept so people understand exactly the way you practice law. Because it's different, right?
It is completely different. So I started my career as a litigation attorney. When I left the big firm life and opened my own practice, I quickly started building a family law practice, even though my background was actually in civil litigation representing large companies who were being sued. So I started taking cases, and the goal was do it for a year and then transition back to doing the civil defense work. And what I found is when I was working with these attorneys in the litigation process, these families were just being destroyed. And they were ending up financially with a division of property and assets and parenting time for their children in the same place they would have if they'd have just sat down and worked together, whether through a mediator or through attorneys helping them find these solutions. Yet they were financially devastated, emotionally devastated, and their co-parenting relationship was destroyed. And I just thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to help these families through one of the worst things that a family could experience. And that's when I found collaborative divorce. And the way it's different is it's all about keeping the families out of court and helping them work together to determine what that future for their family looks like. And the attorneys, we're just there to help them. We're there to help facilitate that process and help them to find a way to be great co-parents when the process is done.
Yeah, and isn't it true that you will not litigate?
That is correct, yeah. I will not take a case. So if it gets to the point where they're going to have to go in front of a judge to have a judge decide the outcome for that family, at that point I tell them, I'm going to help you find a different attorney because I fundamentally believe that that is just a terrible system for families. Not to say that it's bad. There are some families who that is just where they're going to be, whether it's the parents cannot figure out a way to work together or there are just legal issues that need to be decided by a judge. But it's just fundamentally, I don't think it serves families, so I've decided to draw that line in the sand.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, we've shared before in conversation that in collaborative divorce, there's not, I mean, the divorce attorney doesn't make this huge profit like you would if you were litigating, dragging things out, more hours on the case. So it's interesting that you choose this because of something inside your heart, right?
Yeah, ultimately it comes down to you're right. As a litigation attorney, you do make more money, but it's also more stressful. So that was one decision. But honestly, what it really comes down to is I don't think litigation serves families. And when I look at what it does to the kids, for me, it's all about the kids. It's why our tagline is protecting your kids from the pain of divorce. It's helping parents protect their kids from the pain of a divorce.
It's painful.
It is.
Well, as you know, Michelle, and I don't think a lot of my audience actually knows, but I'm recently divorced. And so when I met you, I went because it was collaborative divorce in connection with real estate agents. And when I sat in that conference we were at, it just resonated with me because that's exactly what I was doing with my then husband. We had agreed to get a divorce and be collaborative. And I was like, this is really genius. Like that I had already decided that's how I wanted my life and the divorce to go.
Right.
And so then I came up to you to share that, and then we connected, and now we're here, which is just, and I think that's why I'm so fascinated by the process, is because that was the decision that we made. Like, we have to, we're going to preserve our relationship for our daughter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's it.
Yeah. And I think that's what parents want for their kids, but they don't know there's an alternative. I think the misperception is you have to either do it yourself, which is scary and stressful and overwhelming for most people, or the alternative is you hire attorneys and you go to court and you hope and trust that the attorneys are going to help you through that process in a way that protects the co-parenting relationship. But unfortunately, it's not even the attorneys, it's our court system. It is set up to be an adversarial system that there's a winner and there's a loser, which is why it just destroys families versus our process.
When you think about the word divorce, I mean, my first thought is like fight.
Right.
Like a big battle, long drawn out, tears and all the stuff. And it's just, I love that you're able to provide a different solution for people.
Right. Well, and that's really what we're about, is raising awareness. So that talk that you were at is about us helping other professionals who are encountering people going through a divorce to be able to say, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to hire attorneys and fight with each other. There's something in the middle that I personally believe is better, which is you each get attorneys so you know legally what your rights are. You know that you're not going to make a bad decision. You're not going to make a mistake because you don't understand the law, because you have attorneys there. But the attorneys' roles are not to fight, but they're actually to help you work together to come up with solutions. And we do that by helping you brainstorm solutions. I fundamentally believe families know what's best. Yeah. They know what's best for themselves and their kids. They just sometimes need help getting out of their own way and brainstorming other options.
Yeah, because I think when you're able to collaboratively work together as the parents, you kind of are able to maybe even work through some forgiveness and set your ego aside and realize the bigger picture and what's really important are the kids. And I think that, I mean, I've grew up in a divorced family as well. Right. So I've seen, you know, another side of it as a child. And I think that's also what helped me to decide that I wanted to protect my daughter in this whole process and share too with us what that process looks like for the kids, because there's some people that come onto the scene to specifically work with the kids, right?
Absolutely. Well, and to kind of go to your point, the one thing that is very different in the collaborative process than in the traditional litigation sense is we do deal with forgiveness. We deal with the hurts that brought you there. In court, the judge doesn't care because the law doesn't care. The law doesn't care who did something wrong or how you got there or, you know, any of that stuff. But during the process, we actually address those things. Because if you don't address those things and why someone feels hurt and upset or embarrassed, we're never going to get through the process. So there's an opportunity. And through that, we have our communication coach. So that's our first person we bring onto the team. And they help that person process through what they're feeling, what they're thinking, so they can communicate it in a way that their spouse actually hears them. I like to say all the time, every couple does it. I do it with my husband. You have the same argument over and over again. It's like a broken record, right? Well, the communication coach comes in and helps you reset the track so that they actually hear what you're saying and it doesn't spiral into a fight, which is amazing because now people feel heard. And when you feel heard, you're open to forgiveness.
Yes.
Right? The next thing that we do, which is very unique, and again, you're not going to see in a litigation process, is we bring in what we call a child specialist. And their whole role is to give children a voice in the process. So they will meet with the kids if the parents agree, and they ask the kids, what would they like the parenting time to look like? What do they want the future to be for them and their parents? And then they bring that back to the team. And now the parents know what the kids want. It was done in a safe way that the kids don't feel like they're choosing one parent over the other.
I was going to say,
and they have a voice.
It may be hard for them to directly say that to the parents.
Absolutely.
But when you put a neutral party in front of the children and they're able to actually have a conversation and visualize what they would like, and then comes back, I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's amazing to see some of the transformations in families. And there's a misperception that in order for this process to work, that you and your spouse have to be friendly, right? And some couples are. Some couples choose the process because they are friends and they've decided that they're better off as friends rather than married. But I've had cases where there's high conflict, but they worry about their kids and they want to make sure their kids stay out of the conflict. And to watch when the kids come in and say, here's what I want for mommy and daddy. Here's what I want my situation to look like and my time with mom versus my time with dad. the healing that helps in that family, because now both parents are validated that their children love them and they're equally valued by their kids. Again, in court, it's one parent over the other.
Yeah, winner and a loser. Gosh, this is so moving. Do you find yourself like, I mean, you do this day in and day out. Is it emotional for you?
Oh, absolutely. I get goosebumps when we see those kind of stories. And, you know, it's one of the things that makes me proud to say I'm a family law attorney. I'm a divorce attorney, which we don't get to say very often. People don't like us. And I know that. Right. But I know that I made a difference for that family. And one of my favorite stories is one of my first cases I had where I took a couple through this. High conflict, a lot of fighting over who was going to spend time with the child, who got to make decisions for the child. And we got them to a place of a 50-50 parenting plan and a co-parenting joint legal decision-making when mom was wanting sole legal decision-making and limited to no time for father with the daughter. We got them through the process. This was around October, November, and I got an email from them that said because of the process, they got together as a family on Thanksgiving and on Christmas because it's what was best for the daughter. And I mean, even now I feel the tears starting to well up because it was such a powerful story about the transformation for that family, that divorce was fresh. But through that process, they learned it wasn't about them. It was about what their daughter needed. And their daughter needed her family on the holidays, which was incredible.
Isn't that amazing? Because if they would have went down the litigation line, it wouldn't have been happy holidays for that child.
No
way.
And this was now 4 years ago. Actually, it'll be 5 years this holidays. And they both remarried. They have additional children, and they all get together as a big family at the holidays.
Yes.
And I mean, what an amazing story.
I guess the way I grew up, my parents are both remarried, and when we're all back in Oklahoma, we all hang out, barbecue together. So that's the only way I've ever seen it. My mom stops by and has coffee with my stepmom, without me there. And so it's like, that's how I saw it. And I guess that's the reason I had you on the podcast too, is because I want people to know that there's an alternative way, and that divorce can look like this, the process, and family can look like this.
Right.
Like you can actually get along, be in the same room, spend time together. Like, I mean, my ex-husband and I are, I mean, we're not best friends, but we're best friends.
Right.
Like, you know, and it's amazing that there's not all this fighting going on, and that, you know, the collaborative effort. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. And how much less stressful for your family, right?
Yes.
You're not fighting over drop-offs and pickups and who's going to have this holiday or that holiday, but you find a way to work together.
Yeah.
And to be respectful.
Yes.
Right? And to appreciate that you don't have to love each other anymore, but to respect each other because you had a kid together, right?
Yeah.
And the kid is what matters and should, right? And I truly believe parents don't intend to put their kids in the middle. No parent wants to do that. They're so stuck on protecting themselves and defending themselves in the traditional litigation process that the kids are collateral damage. And the kids never recover from that.
No.
And statistics show kids from divorce fare just as well as kids from homes that do not have divorce if there's low conflict, period. And that's what this does, is it helps those kids have low conflict. They still see their parents working together to make decisions together. These kids fare just as well. And that's what I want to see. I want to see positive outcomes for these kids.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so impressed by you. So it's fun.
Well, the feelings are mutual. You know, I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. I recently got my designation in divorce real estate.
That was so exciting.
And I think it's an interesting relationship to be able to also counsel people that are going through divorce in the real estate sector, but also lead them, lead them to collaborative efforts if I can. Because if you can get in front of them before even any kind of mediation happens, that's where we can start changing the way that the trajectory for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's incredible that you're doing it. I know when you and I first talked about you pursuing it, I think it's fantastic because when people are going through divorces, a home is not just a house. It's not a piece of property. It's the memories, right? It's the history. And it is one of the most emotional decisions that family will make. In fact, it's usually one of the biggest areas they fight over is someone wants to keep the house, even if it financially doesn't make sense. And it's one of the things through the process is we help them with that emotional connection. And we have a financial person, a neutral, who can help them understand financially, can they keep it? And what is it going to take to keep that home? And through that process of being validated, these are memories. Doesn't mean they go away, but you get a chance at a fresh start and new memories, right?
Yeah.
And you get this new opportunity. One, it helps them to emotionally separate from that home, but it makes your job easier, right?
Yeah.
You're not worried about them fighting over the value and appraisal if repairs have to be done. I mean, how many deals have you had either close to losing or potentially lost because they couldn't agree and they lost a buyer?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You always, we all have to be on the same page. And I think that's the great thing is that I'm able to show the, outspouse or the house spouse, these are the risks if you keep the house.
Yeah.
And these are the, this could be how your life looks like if we just, do this solution. Because I think that's the ego that's like, oh, I have to keep the house. This house is mine and I'm not going to let that spouse have it. And, there's that battle. And it's like, look, let's talk about the risks. Let's talk about, and then are you comfortable with the risks of keeping the house? And does it make most sense?
Right.
And that financial planner that you bring into the team is really essential because then they can go, okay, you've been living like this. If you keep the house, this is, all the costs associated with it.
Yes.
And how to transfer title and it could get very messy and who has the insurance policies. And I mean, it's so deep. So what we do is a lot that goes into it.
Yeah. Well, and we love bringing someone like you in. One, you have the designation. So you understand the unique dynamics that are going on, right?
Yeah.
In a divorcing couple. But more importantly, you understand personally what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And 9 times out of 10, they want to be validated.
Yeah.
Right?
We
this
all
is an important
want,
place.
Yeah. Just as humans, right? We all want to be validated and heard.
Yeah.
And I think that point that you made, I think that was just great because we do. And then that's when forgiveness can happen, when we're heard and understood.
Right. Well, and that's when the process becomes easier, right? The decision to whether to keep the home or let the home go becomes easier, right? Because you have a chance to be heard about why it matters to you that you're the one who gets to stay in the house versus decision to sell the home, right? And start a new life. I hear a lot, and you probably hear it too, it's better for the kids. They need something stable in their life. And I tell people, the kids will be fine. Yeah. It's how you set it up. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If you make them part of the process of finding a new home and you get all excited that they get to pick their own rooms and pick new linens, kids get excited. They feed off the energy of their parents, as you know.
Oh, my gosh.
You got a beautiful little girl. You know all too well she feeds off your energy.
She does. And, she's a lot like me. It's interesting to watch. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about, like, you as in your personal life.
Sure.
You're married. You have a son, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know, it's crazy. 19 years together, and we have an 18-month-old. So it's been a fun, crazy journey.
19 years. That's pretty impressive. I like it.
It's crazy. We were babies when we met. We figure we're about toddler stage right now. You know, we like to live young, have fun. Yeah. Had to slow down a little after the birth of the son, but it's getting fun again.
Good. Yeah. I think
he's into everything.
Yeah. Once they're able to, kind of be a little bit sufficient in a way, right? You're able to kind of, get back to the things that you did before. Yeah. So what are some of the things you guys like to do?
We're huge CrossFit people.
Yes.
So we have our own home box within our garage.
Really?
So we recently moved, so it's only partially set up, which, luckily we belong to a fantastic box, Wildfire CrossFit. So we're able to go there quite a bit. So we're big on CrossFit. The one thing that I've not gotten back to is I competed before I got pregnant with my son. I actually did 4 competitions while I was pregnant.
While you were pregnant?
While I was pregnant in the first trimester. But I haven't gotten back to that point yet. We're working on it. But the amount of dedication it takes to train to compete locally is a lot. So,
Okay,
and my son's a priority.
Yeah, our kids are, yeah. I'm not very familiar with CrossFit, so I didn't know that there was actually competitions. So
There
that's
are a
interesting.
lot of local competitions. So there's always competitions in the fall and then the spring. So,
Okay.
and you get to compete against some of the local athletes here in town.
That's fun.
You make great friends. We're all, we like to say, a little bit crazy that the more that the workout sucks, the happier we are to do it, right? It's a mental game.
Okay, yes, it is. It is. Everything we do is,
It
know,
is.
so that's good. So
Yeah.
they use that as a release to
Yeah.
deal with, sometimes what can be a stressful career.
Oh,
a little bit.
absolutely.
So that's good.
It is a huge stress relief for me. So we love to
Good.
do that. Other than that, we love to cook. We love to travel, huge travelers. My son has already been on 7 trips by the time he was 17 months, 7 trips
Really?
across the country and 1 down to Mexico. So,
my gosh.
Oh, yeah, he's already well traveled.
Good, yeah.
And he's actually a really good traveler. I think because we started him so young. His first trip, he
Yeah.
was 3 months old. So
I think that's the key. So
Yeah.
Violet, she travels. I mean, she's the best little travel buddy.
Right.
Because I've started her young. I'm like, this is just what we do. This is, this is our life. And I think that when you set kids up for that, they just become accustomed.
Right.
I was never like a big routine mom.
Right.
I'm just like, I just need her to be flexible like me. And so I'm going to teach her how it is.
Right.
So that's,
No, and that's fantastic, right? Because when in life do you get to always stay to a schedule?
yeah. Well,
I find it
yeah.
to be almost never.
Yeah, exactly. You can try.
Right.
Yeah. Are you calendared and scheduled? Like, are you that kind of person?
I have to be professionally,
right.
just because otherwise I don't know where I'm coming and going. And we're just so busy. But on the weekends, no. I mean, we like to kind of we have our few things that we do. But other than that, where it's like, what are we going to do today?
Yeah.
Are we going to go check out something new? Like this weekend, we're going to go up to the Enchanted Pumpkin Patch. And I heard this is this fantastic thing that my son will probably love. So we're just going to go. Don't know when or what day, what time.
You'll
but
get there.
We'll just go.
Yeah, that's fun. Good. Oh, so much fun. And you also practice other areas, specialties of law.
Yes.
You want to chat about that?
Yeah, so I'm most known for the family law, as you're aware. And again, it's just because I don't litigate, which is so rare for a divorce attorney. But we also work with families in other aspects of their life. So I like to say our practice is family-based. So I work with people who are thinking about getting married, if they need to evaluate a prenup or their estate plan. So if they're getting married, they should be considering wills, their powers of attorney, right?
Yeah.
If they have kids, who are the guardians if something happens to them? So we do a lot of that work, the estate planning, and then I also work with business owners. Again, it's usually an overlap of the transactional side of things, right? They're a successful business person, but they don't have their documents in order. So what happens to their business if something happens to them? And making sure their spouse has what they need to step in and run the business so they can either sell it or continue to have an income for the family. So we do a lot of work with business owners around those issues. And we do a lot of startups. So people who are thinking about starting a business and
What does
making
that look
sure
like?
they have their basic documents, they've planned it out. We don't do their business plan with them. I can refer them out if they need it. But I help them effectively think about the things that should go in a business plan, particularly from the legal side of things, right? And the practical side, because there's some great ideas, but then we distill it down and say, okay, practically speaking, what does this look like, right? And let's evaluate your risk, kind of like you do with the home, right? And then they decide how comfortable they are.
Okay. Going back to that, I mean, I think people get into business because it fires us up, and we're just in it and doing it, and, we don't think about what happens if.
Right.
I don't really like to think about the what ifs, Michelle.
Oh, and most people don't, right?
I'm like, that'll never happen to me.
Right?
And yet that's why we have people like you
Correct.
to help us plan for those and prepare for those moments if they ever do arise.
Right.
God forbid.
I know. Well, and the thing I always tell families is it's going to get a little uncomfortable because we're going to talk through a lot of things.
Right.
But if we do it now and your plan's in place, now you don't have to think about it anymore, right? It's not in the back of your mind like, what if something happens to me? What happens to my family? What happens to my business? We already put a plan in place, right, to make sure that everything's taken care of. But more importantly, the more likely thing is you decide to sell your business, right? You retire. Right? Or you build something for the purpose of selling. I have plenty of clients who literally build a business for the sole purpose of selling it. to move on to the next adventure, right? Yeah. And that's what they do. They're venture capitalists, right? They're serial entrepreneurs. And it's fantastic. Yeah. It's exciting to help them with some of the ideas that they have.
That's so fun. I love that the law just kind of overlaps for you, and and you're able to help people in all the different stages.
Right.
That's really cool.
Well, and that's really how the evolution kind of happened. Is like I said, I started as a litigation attorney, and then I said there's got to be a better way. So I started mediating, and then found collaborative, and that's when I stopped litigating and said I'm just going to focus on this. And then what we started seeing is, as our families were divorcing or legally separating, they needed to have their wills and documents in place, because now they're no longer married. So their spouse is not going to get to automatically make those decisions for them. So they needed to have documents in place. And I was referring them out to other attorneys. And because they were still in crisis and figuring out what their life is going to look like, they never did anything.
Yeah.
And I had
it's another pressure.
It is another pressure.
You're like, yeah, I'll deal with it later.
Right.
I got to get through this.
Exactly.
But then you can just help them at the same time.
Exactly.
And move them forward.
And that's exactly what happened, because I had a client call me and had gotten a cancer diagnosis and was freaking out because had never gotten around to doing her documents. Luckily, she survived and everything was okay. But that's what got me realizing, like, oh my God, my clients are vulnerable, right? Yeah. They didn't do that. So you know what? For our clients, we'll start doing it. And that's how it started. Is we just did wills and powers of attorney and trust for our clients. And what ended up happening is my financial advisor, referral partners, my CPAs, my real estate, professionals started finding out that I was doing it and said, we know your passion is helping families and protecting families. Can you just take this referral and help this family? And I'm like, sure, right? It's a referral partner. I'll do anything to help my referral partners. And before I know it, it became a practice area for us.
Nice.
And then we started finding business owners. And again, we were referring the business out, but they weren't getting the documents done. So I ended up hiring 2 attorneys who we have on staff. So I don't do the business work, but I help them brainstorm through, because there's so much overlap with my other areas. But I actually have 2 attorneys who that is their sole focus, is business law. And they're the ones who actually help them put the documents in place to make sure all the protections are there. So,
That's perfect.
It's just been this natural evolution of how we help the families in different phases of their life.
Yeah, that's pretty unique and awesome. Going back to collaborative, like how long has this been like a concept?
Oh, so it's been around surprisingly for a while, since the 80s. Right. And it kind of comes and goes in phases, but it never fully took off here in Arizona until recently. And I attribute it to, there's a group of us who really believe in this concept, who formed a group called Best Legal Choices. And we effectively started marketing it and doing talks in the public, because we really believe this is a better way to divorce for families. The nice thing is, collaborative process actually works for all areas of the law. It's not just family law. Family law is just the most natural fit because people are looking for alternatives, but we're looking to branch into probate, for example, because again, you're dealing with families going through crisis. Business disputes. I've had business owners who've come to me for mediation, and I said, let's look at collaborative, right? Let's bring in a financial person, help us do a business valuation. Let's bring in a communication coach to help the 2 of you work through this so you can still be business owners together.
Partnerships.
Especially partnerships and family businesses.
They're tough. And especially then you add the family dynamic. I'm sure it's even worse. Oh,
absolutely. I actually tell people a business divorce is significantly worse than a personal divorce, right? Because you don't get to separate, right? If you're personally going through a divorce, you can sort of separate it from your professional life, right? People, like you said, not everyone maybe knew you were divorced, right? Like, because you can keep that separation. Yeah. But if you're business owners together and you're breaking off things, your social circles probably overlap and your professional circle overlaps. Yeah. And that's your income, right? Potentially being impacted.
Yeah, and who keeps what and who.
Absolutely.
So the collaborative process, I didn't really think about it further in other areas of law, but that's unique as well. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's really neat. I think it's really starting to take a kind of a foothold here in Arizona, and I really think consumers are looking for a better way. Consumers are tired of fighting, right? They're tired of spending money on attorneys, right?
You're like,
let's
I'm
be
an attorney.
Honest,
People
right?
are tired of spending money on me.
They are, right? And they're looking for a better option. Yeah. And honestly, doing it yourself, I see it cost families so much more.
Yeah, there's more risk because there's things that you aren't looking out
Right.
as a consumer that you just don't know. You just don't know what you don't know.
Correct. And I see families waive things that then the
That they
situation
shouldn't.
changes and they come back and I have to tell them, there's nothing I can do to help you. You waived it when you checked that box on that form.
Yeah.
And they always
won't
tell me,
reopen the
I
case.
didn't know that. And I have to tell them, I'm sorry. Like, not knowing is not an excuse, and it's the most painful thing to tell these families, you missed your opportunity, right? So I'm a big believer, even if you want to do it yourself, even just sitting down with an attorney to look over the paperwork and make sure you understand what you're signing. But I think a lot of consumers are afraid to do it, right? Like you could sell your own house, but how many people really do it?
Well,
right?
Even if you do, I was thinking like when you were saying that, my mind was going like, oh, it's
right.
the for sale by owner. It's like they can execute it, I'm sure.
Right.
And it's also through the process, the risk that they're opened up to that they have no idea about.
Correct.
And that's why we're in place. There's so much to the process. It's not just, finding the buyer or whatnot, or, it's negotiating and protecting the client along the way. It's the same.
Absolutely.
We're the same in that way.
It's the exact same, right? And again, do people think they're saving money by not paying commission? Sure. But how much more did it really cost them, right?
Especially if something went
wrong.
Yeah. And same thing with, doing the divorce yourself or whatever other area of law. So it's interesting.
There's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, there is in all areas of law. I was having dinner with an attorney last night, and it's interesting because, he's on the real estate side of things, and it's just interesting how all the overlap to even, family law, to real estate, to business, it just all, so it's so nice to have a circle of people that are just all connected.
Yeah.
And we can help serve the client the best. I think that's really what I saw after I left that meeting. I'm like, that's it.
Right.
It's just better service for the clients.
Absolutely. And I think the key is finding someone who shares a similar values and mission, right? Like you and I sat down for lunch shortly after that meeting and we just clicked because we share the same value, mission, and passion for helping our families, right?
Yeah.
It's what's best for our families. That's what we're going to do. And not everyone is that way in either of our profession, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It just means their values don't align.
Yeah. And we want to work with people too, like even our clients. I want my clients to choose me as an agent because of my values and my work ethic and that sort of thing. And so I think that it's same for you.
Absolutely. And you're fun, Kandis. I mean, come on. You make what is a stressful process, buying or selling a home, you make it fun for the family.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, you're right, Michelle, about me. I always say it. I don't want any part of it if it's not fun.
Right?
Like, I don't. Like, this process has got to be fun for me to do it and stay in it.
Right.
So I want my clients to, I should start telling them more directly up front. Like, okay, look.
Right.
If you're not about fun, we're not doing this.
You should tell them life is too short. This is about having fun in life, right? Because life is way too short.
Well, because not everything goes perfect all the time. Like, it's just not going to.
Right.
And, my job is to try to, keep it on track.
Right.
But also add a fun element. I love that you...
Have you ever had a job be perfect?
No.
The client may think it was, but has it ever truly been perfect? Candace?
No.
Every transaction has some little glitch.
Some little glitch, yes. And I try to, mitigate it and at least, bring some kind of fun to it.
Right.
So, I do like to have
Which
fun.
is what I love, right? And I tell people there's nothing fun about a divorce. But what we can do is minimize the stress, right? And help you see that there is fun after, right? And I tell people divorce doesn't have to be about destroying a family. I look at it as we're just restructuring the way the family looks and where the family lives, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The fun can still happen once we get through the process. And we've had people share stories and laugh about it, right? These inside jokes, right? Because through the process, they learn that forgiveness. Yeah. They can now remember the good times, right? And kind of forget the bad times.
Yeah, because it's easy when you're like in that process and things aren't going well and, you're going through divorce just to keep focusing on the negative. And then I always say, like, what you focus on expands. So if you keep focusing on negative things that are occurring in your life, you're just going to get more of that back.
Right.
So when you can shift your mindset and focus. Go like, okay, this can actually be like a decent process. Now we can work through the forgiveness, and now we can get back to like seeing the other individual as an individual,
Right.
and seeing their beautiful qualities, because there was some reason you fell in love with them in the beginning,
Right?
you know.
That's what I tell people all the time. You love them at one point. Let's focus on what it was that you loved about them,
Yeah.
and forget the things that you didn't.
And let's
Those are in
get
the
back,
past.
right? I'm curious to see if you see this, like, I've heard it before. People say, like, what you love about a person in the beginning is what you end up disliking in the end. Do you think that's true?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen where the thing that you loved, whether it's spontaneity,
Right.
their quirkiness, their, odd sense of humor, are the things that annoy you at the end. But I've also seen the opposite, that the things that you loved about them, that when we can get you to remember that and not focus on the things that you hate right now, suddenly you find that new level of respect and love, not the love you had before, but the
different
love
love.
for them as a co-parent.
Yeah.
The love of, you're my friend. You know where the skeletons are hidden, right? We got to be a united team for the kids. That kind of love and respect and appreciation, which is just a different kind of love, right?
Yeah.
So every family's different. I've had other families who walk out who never get to that point, but they commit to being respectful to each other for their kids.
Yeah.
But I would say it's a smaller percentage who stay at that point, because through the process, they usually find a way to find at least one or two positive traits that they love about their co-parent, because usually those are present in their children.
Yes, right.
Those little quirks. It's funny how they show up in our kids.
Well, it's very interesting. Sometimes I look at Violet and I'm like, oh, bless Jeremy's heart, because she's just like me.
Oh, she's such a mini you.
Yeah, and he has to see that every day,
Right.
And so I'm like, oh.
But again, those are going to be the characteristics that he comes to love, right? Because it's his daughter.
Yeah,
And he
for
loves her
sure.
so much.
Yeah. He's a
Oh,
good
trust
dad.
me, I see the quirks of my husband in Jackson, and I'm like,
Yeah?
where did you pick that one up?
Oh, yeah,
But
that's-
somehow those quirks come out, and I say the same thing. He's a little chatterbox, and I feel for my husband, because my son does not shut up like his mother.
I was going to say, well, who talks the most at your house?
Oh, me by far.
Is your husband more like reserved and quiet?
Oh, yeah. Unless he knows someone, he walks in a room full of people he doesn't know, and he's going to kind of sit back and observe the room, take it in. Me, I'll just charge right into the middle of the room, walk right up and start talking to someone.
Yeah.
We're very different in that respect. And, it's actually one of the qualities I appreciate, though, because sometimes I do have a tendency to rush into a situation and make a quick decision, and he'll get me to slow down and say, let's evaluate this, the pros and cons, and whether I like it or not, sometimes I need it.
Yeah. I think it is a balance in a relationship. And would you say that's been the secret component to the 19 years?
The secret component is finding a way to find appreciation for the things that drive me crazy.
Oh, okay.
And that is one of them. Being very slow to make decisions early on. Oh, drove me crazy. And over the years, I had to find a way to appreciate it. That it's actually a strength, right?
Yeah.
Because
Maybe
it
there's
balances.
an opportunity where we should, because I'm a lot like you. I'm just like, no, give me the bottom line. I'll have a decision right now.
Yep.
I can pivot very quickly and keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And it is hard for me too. I've noticed that it's people that don't make decisions like us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We're
I'm like, can you just hurry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's good. That's an area where I could definitely grow.
Right. Yeah, like I said, it was something that I knew was a huge trigger for me, that it would drive me crazy. I would get impatient. I'd start tapping my nails, tapping my foot, like not even realizing I was doing it. It was very subconscious.
Yes.
And it drove him crazy. And I had to listen and say,
Breathe.
okay, right? Either this isn't going to work. And I was like, I like the guy, right?
Yeah, I kind of like him.
I kind of like him, so I should figure out how to make this work. And so I had to say, okay, so how do I find a way to find appreciation?
Yeah.
That it's a valuable trait, even though it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm perfect. There's still times I have to take a deep breath, because I find myself rushing him to make a decision. Like taking a year and a half to buy a new car. I'm like, just buy a car.
You're like, I'll go buy the car
Oh,
for you.
The solution is I tell him the minimum requirements I want, and take as long as you need to buy that car.
It took a year and a half?
I'm out of the process. Oh, yeah. Because by the time he figured out what car he wanted, the features changed. The new model was out.
Oh my gosh.
And our friends who know him chuckle because they say, "Oh, that is so him."
That is hilarious.
But you know what? He got me a great car, and my son loves it. So
And now you're happy.
Exactly.
Happy wife, happy life, right?
Right. Exactly.
Oh gosh, very cool. Anything else? I wanted to ask you, what is one thing that you kind of operate and live your life by, like a saying? Is there something that really just kind of resonates with you?
You know, it's probably a couple different things. One is family first. For me, family's always first, whether it's for me personally or the families I'm working with, right? If you make decisions based on what's best for family, you can't go wrong, right? The other one I live by is do one thing that scares the you-know-what out of you every single day.
Every
right?
day?
Every day. Find one thing that puts me out of my comfort zone, right? Whether it's I'm in a rush to get somewhere, but I stop to help someone, right? Or I decide to do something. I mean, I public speak a lot, but it doesn't mean it doesn't make me anxious, right?
Yeah.
I've been asked to public speak on a topic that I do not consider myself to be someone who would normally speak on that topic, but I say, you know what, why not, right? You picked me for a reason. Let's make the best of the situation. And I'll talk on a topic, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's just really about finding a way to challenge myself. And a lot of times it'll be, I might be in a hurry, I might be in a rush, and I'm going to take a time out to do something for someone else, right? For me, that's uncomfortable because I'm rushing to get to something.
So you consciously make a choice in the day,
Right.
you're like, I've got to find something today.
Right. I'm going to
get
find
me-
something today
that scares me,
that challenges me, that makes me just a little bit uncomfortable.
And that's because that's how we grow,
Absolutely.
being uncomfortable, right?
Yep, exactly. And that's why I live by that.
Yeah, I like that.
And I hope to teach my son to do that. So
Yeah,
we're
I'm sure
definitely
you
working
are.
on him not being afraid to fall, for example. I'm like, go ahead and fall. There's not a right way or wrong way to play with the toy. I'm like, that's an interesting way to play with that toy. All right, let's go with it. And the whole hope is to teach him to grow up to not be afraid to take risks, to not be afraid, right, of failure, because it's not a bad thing.
Well,
We learn so much out of a failure.
Yeah, failure isn't. You have to fail, or else you're not trying. You're
Right.
not moving forward. If
Absolutely.
you stay safe, this is interesting. I like where this is going.
Yeah.
That's true, and I always say it's failure's necessary, and then it's how fast can you get back up.
Absolutely. I always say it's how you react to the failure. It's not that you failed, it's what do you do with it? What do you do with the information you gained?
Yeah,
right?
there's always something to learn
Yep.
there, a lesson.
Yeah.
So what can I gain? Or what can I recognize? And then how fast can I get up and implement
Right?
and keep moving forward?
Absolutely.
Because that's how we become better
Yep.
and then grow and become better versions of ourselves and
Yeah.
more evolved.
Yeah. I guarantee you we're not the same people we were 15, 20 years ago, right?
Oh my gosh, I'm not the same person I was yesterday.
Right? Because you're always growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through conversation, experience. That's the whole point of this podcast. Oh my gosh, Michelle. Like, that is the point.
And we didn't even need cocktails to get there.
Okay,
Kandis.
okay. Let's talk about this too, because, well, okay, that day we met for lunch.
Yes.
I thought, I'm going to meet this attorney for lunch for
Right.
an hour, and
Right.
we're going to see how we can
Yeah.
help each other grow our businesses through referrals and a relationship. And we were there almost 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. The time flew by. And I think we both looked and were like, oh, my God.
I was like, how does this attorney have 2 hours? Like nothing. We just our conversation just flowed so well.
Absolutely.
So
We had
it's-
so much fun.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then we learned about each other.
Oh, yeah.
That we both have a love for.
Whiskey. I mean,
Whiskey.
come on.
I know.
I don't
And
meet
so-
too many other women who love whiskey. And so, yes, we had a very fun conversation about that.
Yes, we still have got to try out that.
We have to go to the library.
The library.
Yeah.
What's this?
Over in Kierland. There's a whole bunch of like different Scotch whiskey bourbons.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I know. We'll have to plan a fun outing.
Wait, there's.
That's going to be an Uber night.
Oh yeah, for sure. Uber all the time. Chris.
Oh, Dr. Chris Bonner.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was telling me about some
Magnums?
speakeasy
Oh, yes. There's a
that
speakeasy.
we're supposed to go to.
Yes. There's a couple speakeasies in town as well. Oh, yes. He's another fantastic chiropractor. I've known him
Yeah.
for years. He's our family chiropractor. He adjusts my son. And yes, we drink bourbon and scotch and whiskey together.
It's fun. Yeah, I love it. We should like the whiskey club.
We should start our own exclusive whiskey club. I love
Ooh.
it, right?
This is good ideas that happen on
Only
this
good people.
podcast. Yes. So do you so yes, yes. When you got here today, you're like, where's the whiskey?
Right?
I'm like, oh, podcast fail.
That's okay. We'll just do it again.
Yeah, like episode 2, round
Right.
2 with Michelle.
Right, with our whiskey.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to work on it because, well, you're not the first guest that is like, where's the whiskey? Because I think like I just am
we know
friends
that?
with people that like whiskey. It's
Well,
kind of interesting.
Yep, and we know that about you, right?
Yes.
It's a unique characteristic. Not a lot of people
Women.
like whiskey, and not a lot of women.
Like, I just love it. Like, I mean, that sounds crazy to say, but I just
Right.
love the taste. Like, I don't drink beer, really.
Right.
Ugh. But yeah, whiskey and wine, that's it.
Yeah. Sounds fun. I like the idea of starting our own little exclusive whiskey club.
Yeah. We can meet like
We'll start at the
once a month or
speakeasy,
something. Yeah.
right?
And we can try out a new speakeasy every month.
Oh my God, that'd be so much fun.
This would be fun because you're such a networker. So I'm sure that you.
So are you.
I know. You're like,
we know,
so
we
are
know
your
so many
attitude.
people.
Yes, we do. We know a lot of the same people, which is interesting.
Right?
That it took us that like kind of chance meeting.
Right?
Like I connected with you. Like I was in the audience, and I'm like, I am going to talk to that lady.
Right?
I don't know. There was something about you. So I just went, I was like you. I just went right up to you.
Oh yeah, you caught me right after the
I
talk.
like, wanted to talk to you.
And I thought I was in trouble. You were so serious.
Oh, well, it's a serious topic. Divorce is serious. Well,
It is.
we're realizing that can be
Right.
fun. Maybe.
Right.
Well, not fun. I shouldn't say that.
Right.
But
Less stressful.
less stressful. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how many people in our network overlap.
Yes.
And the moment we met and I mentioned you, people are like, oh, I know Kandis. I'm like, how have I not met Kandis sooner?
Right? It was meant to be. But yeah, same thing. Other people, I'm like, oh, I'm meeting with Michelle. He's like, oh, I knew you would like her. I'm glad you guys connected. And, and now here we are,
Right?
friends and whiskey lovers.
Right? I know.
Oh,
we
gosh.
love the whiskey.
Fun. Well, it's been so much fun having you on the podcast. Is there any like last thought you wanted to share with the audience or me or anything you wanted to say to the world?
You know, I think the bigger thing is just I value our friendship and I value the professional expertise that you bring for my clients when they're going through a divorce or separation, that I know I can trust you to not only be a fantastic realtor, because that's a given, you're fantastic, but that you're going to help them through the process of letting go of that home.
Yeah.
And to me, that is worth the weight in gold to have you as a resource for those
Oh,
clients.
thank you so much. Like, I find so much value in you as well. And I know that if I sent people to you, that you're going to do what's best for the family.
Right.
And that's, it's the same.
Right.
It's the same feeling I have for you, actually.
Mutual admiration.
Ah, thank you so much. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Kandis Show today. I hope that you found tremendous value from my guest today. And if you did, please feel free to share this episode, share the show, like, and subscribe. Thanks so much.